Ayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pa sisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit pong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Hello! Maalab na pagbati po sa inyong lahat. At aking pong wini-welcome muli kayong lahat sa ating pangalawang episode ng Club M na pinamagatang Overcoming the Emotional Roller Coaster of Menopause. Binabati ko rin ang lahat ng isang makabuluhang paggunita sa 123 araw ng kalayaan ng Pilipinas. Ako po si Poy at inyong host at ito po ang Club M. Nabanggit po natin sa ating unang episode na isa sa mga simptomas ng menopause o kaya perimenopause ay anxiety at depression. At nandyan ang pagiging mainitin ang ulo o irritability na madalas ay pinagwawalang bahala lamang. O kaya naman, tampulan pa ng tukso ang taong dumadaan sa ganong sitwasyon. Ano-ano nga ba ang mga emotional symptoms ng menopause at paano natin ito matutugunan? Sa kabutihang palad, sumang-ayon ang isang Batikan na psychiatrist upang ating maging special na panauhin at magbigay linaw sa mga yan. Sa muli, aming inaanyayahan kayo lahat na isulat ang inyong katanungan at komento sa ating Club M Facebook group at sa ating Club M YouTube channel. Ating i-welcome muli ang aking napaka-supportive na co-host, Miss Mariglo Iloa Laririt. Hello, Marigs!
Hello!
Hi, Mika!
Hello, Poy.
Hello again!
Magandang hapon sa'yo. Hello!
Yes,
At magandang
mapakagandang
hapon
hapon
din
muli
sa
sa iyo,
lahat ng
amiga.
sumusubaybay sa atin dito. Yes. Ikinagagalak ko na makasama ka muli at ikinagagalak ko yung ating ginagawa na alam nating napakamakabuluhan. Ang pangalawang episode dito nating Club M at yung una ay naibahagi ko nga yung aking journey dahil sa pagdaan ng tinatawag nating forced menopause, if we may call it that, because of my surgical procedure. Pero ngayon, pag-uusapan natin at napakapalad natin na mayroon tayong isang psychiatrist para magkaroon ng linaw ang mga pinagdadaanan ng mga nagme-menopause katulad natin na tinatawag nating roller coaster of emotions. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our special guest, no? Very, very special guest. Alam ba, Joy, na ay Joy tuloy, ayan. Alam mo ba, Poy, na itong ating guest ay napakatagal ko ng kaibigan, no? Mula nung kami ay nursery. So ako'y siguro 3 o 4 na taong gulang hanggang sa kasalukuyan ay magkaibigan pa rin kami. So isa ito sa mga blessings mula sa ating Panginoon na talagang pinapasalamatan ko ng labis. Okay, so siya ay si Dr. Jocelyn Gauzon-Gayares and everyone calls her Joy. No? Joy is a licensed child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist who, after passing her physician licensure exam, embarked on a specialty training in general psychiatry with subspecialty in child and adolescent psychiatric treatment at the University of the Philippines, PGH, or Philippine General Hospital. She is a fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association, the Philippine Society of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and the Philippine College of Addiction Medicine. So talagang masasabi natin na ang ating guest ay batikan, no? She is an expert on all levels, no? Having presented several of her research works in international fora as a former Young Fellow of the World Psychiatric Association and a Ulysses Viana Award nominee, Joy eventually became an international fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, an international associate of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, and an international member of the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists. With her passion to uplift the mental state of children, especially abandoned, abused, and less fortunate ones, she worked with various children's foundations in the Philippines, started the Addiction Prevention School Caravan, HIV and Addiction Prevention Caravan, collaboratively wrote the Philippine Psychiatric Association Help Booklet for areas without a psychiatrist, and the church-based program Called to Shine for Jesus Summer Camp with ardent hope to help develop the mental literacy of the next generation. Called to serve by their church's general conference, Joy is currently serving or will serve very soon, no, as a missionary doctor in Nepal. However, Joy feels that her greatest accomplishment is being the mother of 3 sons. Joy is married to Dr. Hector Gayares Jr., a laparoscopic surgeon who was the chief executive officer of the National Health System Philippines and is currently the chief executive officer of the Sheer Memorial Adventist Hospital. So So let me turn you over and sa lahat ng ating mga manonood, isang lab na pagbati sa inyo mula sa amin ni Dr. Poy at ang ating special guest na Dr. Joy.
Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat dyan na kasama ng Club M. Kasama ko sa Club M. Yes, pati ako, menopausal na. Talagang part lang yon ng buhay nating mga babae. And napakarami ngang mga ups and downs. Parang roller coaster ang ating buhay. Tayong mga nagme-menopause. So let's try and survive this together. Kasi hindi naman forever tong menopause According to statistics or according to researches, 6 to 10 years lang naman yung menopause. Hindi naman to forever na pagdurusa. So huwag mag-alala. 6 to 10 years lang to. Graduate na tayo sa mga simptomang ito. Ano ba mga simptoma? Ano ba mga symptoms and signs? Check natin. Natural. No, kung perimenopause, that means before the cessation of menses or talagang yung nag-stop na or menopause na talaga, magkakaroon na tayo ng mga irregular profuse menses. No, yan yung mga perimenopause. Pero pag tinanggalan ka na ng bahay bata or ng uterus, talaga namang magme-menopause ka na, tigil na ang regla. However, you would still have or we still have sometimes night sweats. Yes, talagang parang baha ang ating mga ang ating sweat na parang kailangan mo magbihis 3 times sa isang gabi sa kadami-dami ng iyong sweats or ng iyong pawis. Yes. So, hot flashes, may ganun din. No? Yung biglang iinit yung katawan mo. Minsan, isang party lang ng katawan mo, kalahati lang ng katawan mo, parang feeling mo manananggal ka tuloy. Or parang basta sobrang init lang and then mawawala siya. Or minsan naman, sobrang namang lamig. Lahat ng tao, nagpapaypay-paypay na. Ikaw naman talagang feeling mo ang giniginaw ka. So it's either hot flashes or you have cold streaks. And kasama rin sa menopause would be the vulvovaginal itchiness and dryness. Ibig sabihin, ang ating genitalia or ang ating flower, ang ating pinagkaka-treasure na parte ng ating katawan ay magiging makate at saka magiging dry. So kasama yon sa menopause natin. Ang hindi ka makatulog dahil sobrang iyong mga night sweats or sobrang iyong pagpawis sa gabi or talagang hindi ka lang makatulog. That's also part of menopause. And then, part also of the menopause would be your impaired memory. Ibig sabihin, napakamakalimutan mo na talaga. Feeling mo, ano ba ito? Nag-Alzheimer na ba ako? Hindi tayo nag-Alzheimer. Part lang talaga ng menopause na talagang ang ating memorya ay hindi na sing sharp or sing galing nung tayo ay bata-bata pa. And we will also have poor concentration. We experience poor concentration as part of the menopause. Then, natural dahil yung ating treasured memories down below, yung ating genitalia, dry na, then having intercourse with your husband may also be very painful already. So, painful intercourse. Huwag mag-alala. Meron ako mga tips mamaya dahil part yon ng happiness sa isang mag-asawa. So, I will teach you kung paano hindi magbe-painful ang inyong intercourse. And as I told you, the menopausal stage is not forever. So, the dryness of your vulvovaginal canal is also not forever. It will only last for a couple of years. Psychological symptoms, depression, anxiety, moodiness. O ito yung medyo mabigat-bigat, ano? So, next slide. Paano natin malalaman na, naku, nagde-depression ka na pala nang dahil dito sa menopause na ito? Well, according to the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, major depressive disorder is diagnosed or masasabi natin na tayo ay nagde-depression kapag meron tayong 5 out of the 9 ng, ito ang mnemonic para hindi nyo makalimutan, sad sea whips. Diba pag tayo ay nagde-depress, talagang malungkot, sad. At minsan, nagka-crying tayo, makikita tayo ng ating mga kasama sa bahay or kasama sa trabaho na nagka-cry, flowing like a river, weeping. Kaya ang mnemonic dyan ay sad sea weeps para hindi nyo makalimutan. S stands for sleep disturbance. So pag sleep disturbance, either hindi ka makatulog, which is very common among menopausal women, or tulog ka na ng tulog. Sleep disturbance. A is anhedonia. When you say hedon, ibig sabihin nun, pleasure o ligaya. Pag sinabi mong anhedonia, wala ng pleasure. So yung mga dating mga bagay-bagay na talagang ikinagagalak mo o na nagdadala sa iyo ng happiness on this planet Earth, ay wala na. Kahit manalo ka pa ng 10 million pesos or bigyan ka pa ng limpak-limpak na salapi, parang, ay, nanalo ako. Parang ganun lamang ang iyong sasabihin kasi anhedonic ka na dahil depressed ka. D is depressed mood, so you feel sad. C is concentration problem, so talagang makakalimutin na. W stands for weight changes because either you're gaining weight dahil kain ka ng kain or you're losing weight dahil hindi ka na kumakain. E stands for energy loss. So kahit na natulog ka na ng 12 hours, paggising mo parang pagod na pagod pa rin. Para ka pa rin nauupos na kandila. That's energy loss. The other E is excessive guilt. Feeling mo kasalanan mo ang lahat sa mundo. Kasalanan mong umulan. Kasalanan mong nadapa ang kapitbahay. Kasalanan mo nag-brown out. Lahat na lang kasalanan mo, pakiramdam mo. So that's excessive guilt. P stands for psychomotor. So when you say psychomotor, psycho, utak. Motor, movement ng utak. So pag sinabi psychomotor retardation, feeling mo ang iyong utak hindi na gumagana, retarded. Wala, parang ang movement is like a snail. So yan, psychomotor retardation. Pag sinabi mo namang psychomotor agitation, ay naku, parang energizer, walang katapusan ang pag-andar ng iyong utak. Andar na lang ng andar. Gusto mo nang matulog, gusto mo nang magpahinga, pero andar pa rin ng andar. Yan ang psychomotor agitation. And the last one is suicide. So pag naiisip mo pa na magpakamatay na lang or mas mabuti ang planet Earth kung wala ka dito, yan na yun. Yan yung mga suicidal thoughts. So if you have 5 out of the 9, yan ang depression. Kasama din usually sa pagme-menopause ang anxiety. Next slide, please. So, ang anxiety, normal naman ang anxiety. Talaga namang pag tayo na-represent or nalalagay sa sitwasyon na kailangan nating lumaban or tumakbo, talaga namang we will be manifesting with kaba-kaba or palpitations or natsusuka ka, nauseous ka, or gusto mong tumakbo, or parang ayaw mo nang makipag-usap sa iba, social withdrawal, or irritable ka, no? So, yun yung mga simptoma ng, or yung heart mo parang takbo ng takbo na sobrang bilis. Yan. So, anxiety is actually a normal phenomenon. It happens when we have to fight or we have to fly. It is a self-preserving mechanism that God has given us para tayo mapawalay sa danger or makapalayo sa danger. However, pag ito nangyayari kahit wala namang danger, that's already a pathologic anxiety. And usually, when we are going through menopause, maaari tayong magkaroon ng pathologic anxiety. So, kinakabahan ka na kahit wala namang rason, or nanginginig ka na kahit wala namang rason, or pakiramdam mo nalulunod ka na kahit hindi ka naman, wala ka naman sa tubig o hindi ka naman nagsuswimming. So, yan yung mga pathologic anxiety na maaaring mangyari kapag tayo ay nasa menopausal stage. Next slide, please. Pag tayo ay may diabetes at nag-undergo ng menopause, naku, lalo pa tayong matutulak sa depression. Kaya kailangan ipatreat din natin ang ating diabetes when we are into depression, or when we are into menopause. You have to make sure na yung diabetes nyo ay nakokontrol. Otherwise, you will be pushed further or mapupush kayo into a depressive state dahil yung insulin natin ay nagiging resistant pag tayo ay may diabetes or pag tayo ay nasi-stress. So parang the chicken and egg na, hindi ka na sure kung alin na talaga, no? So kailangan ipatreat natin ang diabetes natin, maging mabait. Pag kayo may na-diagnose na diabetic, meron kayong mga gamot na iniinom, meron kayong mga sinasabihan kayo ng inyong doktor na huwag kakain ng maraming carbohydrates or mga matatamis, maging good girls muna. Para sa ganun, ang menopause, hindi ka nagro-roller coaster. Kasi sino naman ang mahihirapan, di ba? Tayo rin naman. Kaya kailangan mag-good girls, lalo na kapag nasa menopausal stage. Next, please. Lalo na rin kapag tayo ay may lahi ng anxiety or ng depression. Kasi alam nyo, anxiety and depression in itself is chromosomal based. Ibig sabihin, napapasa from one generation to the other. So if you have a family history of anxiety or depression, yung mga tiya mo, yung mga nanay mo, tatay mo, lolo mo, lola mo, o mga cousins mo, merong anxiety or merong depression, warning na yan sa iyo. Pag kayo mag-menopause na, siguraduhin na magsusundin ninyo ang mga tips na ibibigay ko nang sa ganon, hindi kayo mag-anxiety, hindi kayo magde-depression. So, ano ba ang nangyayari sa ating brain? No? Anong nangyayari sa ating brain? Pag pag nasa menopausal stage tayo, ang ating estrogen bumababa na, no? Ang ating mga hormones nag-haywire. Kaya yung ating mga neurotransmitters or yung mga chemicals din natin sa brain natin, medyo naguguluhan din ang kanilang mga movements. So in other words, nagba-brown out sa ating utak. So dahil sa brown out, so ang nangyayari tuloy yung mga sad sea whips na sinabi natin, or yung mga pathologic anxiety na nararamdaman natin pag tayo ay nagme-menopause. Therefore, next slide, kailangan talaga tayong mag-ingat or susundin natin ang mga tips na ibibigay ko sa inyo mamaya para hindi tayo mag-brown out at hindi tayo mag-roller coaster. Another thing na kailangan nating bantayan pag tayo nagme-menopause na ay ang osteoporosis. Yes, dahil ang ating bones nagiging brittle na. So wag nang mag-pretend na kayo ay si Darna, or kung meron kayong kailangang abutin, magpatulong na sa inyong mga anak. Wag nang magpakamartir dahil ang mga bones natin pag tayo ay nagme-menopause ay madali nang mabali. So make sure that you ask for help, lalo na pag ito ay tungkol sa pagbubuhat or paggagawa ng mga bagay na maaari kayong madapa or maaari kayong mabalian. At tigilan na ang pagsusmoke. Dahil pag tayo ay nagme-menopause at nagsusmoke, mas tumitindi ang inyong osteoporosis. Next slide, please. So, ito ang mga tips. Sabi nga natin, nagba-brownout ang brain, di ba? So, therefore, kailangan nating lagyan ng energy or we must make sure na mag-light up siya. So this is a PET scan or positron emission tomography scan of a brain that is negative thinking, so brown out, and one that is positive thinking. So ang positive thinking, ang brain na lighted up, maraming ilaw, lalo na pula under PET scan. So gusto natin yung red. Red talaga. O gaya ngayon, Independence Day. So naka-red ako, di ba? Yung mga kasamahan ko, yung mga host natin dito sa Club M, naka-yellow at saka naka-blue. O mga colors of our flag. Kasi nga Independence Day. So ang ating brain dapat mag-red, maging positive. Therefore, think positive instead of thinking na menopause na ako. Ano ba naman ito? Nagkakaroon ako ng vulvovaginal itchiness or dryness. Nagkakaroon ako ng mga night sweats. Instead of thinking of those things, think positively na ay hindi na ako bibili ng napkin forever and ever. Amen. Makakatipid na ako. At saka pag natapos itong aking menopausal stage, naku, pwede na akong bumali-balentong kahit saan. O, di ba? So, marami namang mga positive things. Maraming freedom na kasama ang pagme-menopause. Hindi ka na mag-aalala na baka mabuntis ka. O hindi na kayo kailangang mag-withdrawal ni Mister. All the way na. All the way. Dahil sure ka na hindi ka na mabubuntis. Diba? Maraming positive things na nangyayari pag tayo nagme-menopause. So think positively so that your brain will light up and you won't end up depressed or anxious. Next tip is magdasal umaga at gabi. Kung pwede lang sa bawat oras magdasal, because researchers have actually shown that prayer lights up the brain as well, especially the frontal lobe. Yan. Ang frontal lobe natin ay siyang nasa ilalim ng ating forehead. Kaya nga siguro sa Bible nakalagay na, naku, ang tatak ng demonyo ilalagay doon sa ating forehead na 666. Ano? Diyan. Kasi under the forehead is the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is the center of decision making. Pag tayo ay nagdadasal, hindi tayo makakaisip mag-suicide. Kasi yung ating decision making part ng ating brain ay lighted up, hindi nagba-brown out. So pray. Prayer really works. Kung kayo naman ay hindi into praying, no, hindi kayo prayer is not your thing, you can just meditate. So meditating also does the same thing. It will also light up your frontal lobe. Next slide. So number 3, exercise daily. Yes, mag-exercise tayo tuwing umaga, lalo na pag nagbe-menopause na, mag-walking. Kahit na hindi ka makabangon, pilitin ang sarili na bumangon, because researchers again have shown that the brain lights up when we do exercise. Kahit na mag-walking ka lang ng 20 minutes, it already lights up your brain. And therefore, natatanggal yan ang yung mga negative things, mga depression, anxiety, na wawala yan pag tayo ay nag-exercise. Plus, the other benefit of exercise is that it also regulates your night sweats. So you don't, the night sweats lessen, as well as yung mga hot flashes nagle-lessen in occurrence when we do exercise every day. Kaya mag-exercise tuwing umaga. Next, number 4, magbasa. Magbasa tayo araw-araw, at ang pinakamagandang basahin ay ang Holy Bible, because it contains many promises of God na nagsasabi na I will be with you unto the end of time. Have no fear, I have overcome this world. Naku, ang Diyos talagang basta't kumapit lamang tayo sa Kanya, hindi niya talaga tayo pababayaan. But we need to choose God. We need to choose Him. Hindi niya kasi tayo pwedeng i-touch, or hindi niya tayo pwedeng pilitin, dahil we have been given the gift of choice. So we need to choose God so He can also hang on to us. So pilitin natin ang sarili natin. Magbasa ng Holy Bible. If the Holy Bible is also not your thing, o magbasa ng kahit ano, ng ibang mga bagay-bagay. Because the brain also lights up when we read. Plus, yung poor concentration or yung difficulty in concentrating is solved by reading, or it is addressed, or you get out of it if you read daily. Yung mga pathways dyan sa brain na nagla-light up, no, kapag tayo ay nagbabasa. And as I have said, the best one to read is the Holy Bible and your daily devotional. Next tip, next slide, number 5, mag-healthy diet. Yes, ilimit na ang mga prito-prito, ang mga matataba o ang mga makokolesterol. Tanggalin na yan sa inyong diet because again, if we take these things, ang ating menopause medyo na-provoke. So, kailangan nating ilimit na ang ating mga taba na kinakain at kinokonsume. Kumain tayo ng whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. Not only because that's the original diet of man as written in the book of Genesis in the Bible, but researchers have shown that the neurotransmitters in the brain exist in the ingredients form, parang pandesal baga, na hindi ka makakagawa ng pandesal sa araw na ito kung wala kang flour, wala kang oil, wala kang water, wala kang ingredients, in other words. And because our brain is compact, the neurotransmitters cannot exist in the neurotransmitter form, which are large molecules. If they exist in neurotransmitter form, hindi magkakasya sa ating utak. Kailangan nasa ingredients form para pag kailangan na, halimbawa, kailangan ng ating brain maging happy, magpo-form siya ng happy neurotransmitter called serotonin. So magbo-volt in, sasabihin ng brain, nako, kailangan ko ng serotonin o yung mga ingredients ng serotonin, mag-volt in na. So magbo-volt in, tan-taran-taran, tan-tan, ganyan, magbo-volt in na sila at gagawa na sila ng serotonin. Pag kailangan naman natin ng pleasure o kailangan tayong maging happy, ecstatic, dopamine kasi iyon. So, iba rin naman ang ingredients noon. So, and the ingredients for these neurotransmitters come from whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. Kaya yan, kakain talaga tayo ng gulay. Tama talaga si Lola nang tayo pinipilit na kumain ng gulay. Then, healthy diet would also mean that you have to drink 2 liters of water daily. Diba dry na tayo? Kaya nga, pag nag-menopause, parang biglang nag-wrinkles. Feeling mo, ano na nangyari sa aking face? Parang nawala na ang kutis porcelana, bigla na lang nag-wrinkle na. So, ganun talaga. Kapag ang ating estrogen ay nag-lie low, nagre-wrinkles na tayo. So, para makontra ito, uminom ng maraming tubig araw-araw. And also, let's trick the body into thinking na marami pa tayong estrogen. So, mag-drink ng at least 1 glass soya milk daily. Yes, soya is the key. Soya milk, uminom yan. Another thing that we need to do is, of course, uminom ng mga vitamins and minerals, lalo na yung mga may calcium kasi nag-osteoporotic na nga tayo, di ba? So, mag-take ng calcium. Calcium is also found in animal milk, no? Yung mga fresh milk dyan. But I would not advise that you take animal milk. Instead, ang dami-dami naman na ngayon ng plant-based milk. Tulad ng soya milk, double 2 birds with 1 stone ka na, di ba? So aside from getting calcium, it also helps trick the body na marami pang estrogen. Kaya yung mga night sweats, yung mga hot flashes, or yung mga wrinkles dyan, nalilesen. Another thing that we need to do is take in some vitamin D. But you don't need to take it in a tablet. You just expose yourself to the sun. So, kahit 15 minutes lamang every day in the morning, no? In the morning, yung morning sun, yun talaga before 10 a.m. Yun, doon kayo because vitamin D is really found in our skin. And na-activate yan pag natatamaan ng sunlight. So, sunbathing before 10 a.m. every day, no? Parang baby tayo uli. Magpainit. Healthy diet would also mean stopping your smoking, your tobacco intake. I will show you some pictures. Ano bang nangyayari sa brain? Stop na rin ang mga alcoholic drinks. At stop na rin, syempre, yung mga prohibited drugs. At stop na rin ang caffeine. Yes, truly, ang caffeine kasama doon. Next slide, please. So, ano ba ang nangyayari sa brain pag tayo umiinom ng alcoholic beverages? Alam nyo kasi, the last brain cell C grows by the time we are 12. After 12, nagma-minus na iyan. Kaya nga kung tayo 40 years old na, hindi ka pa nagme-menopause, pero nakalimutan mo na yung salamin mo pala nandito lamang sa iyong ulo or na yung susi mo nasa loob pala ng iyong pocket. So, alcohol does, after the age of 12, nagsastart na siyang mag-minus. No? So much so that when you reach a certain age, like 40, middle age, 40 years old to 60 years old, you become a little bit forgetful. So alcohol hastens the minus in the brain. And since the last brain cell seed has already grown by the time we are 12, beyond the age of 12, wala nang new neurons na mag-emerge pa dyan. Journals would say neurogenesis, but when they say neurogenesis, it's only the living neuron that will develop new dendrites. Ibig sabihin, magde-develop siya ng new arms or mag-extend yung kanyang arms, yung dendrite niya, para makikonnect sa kanyang kapitbahay na living neuron. Pero yung kanyang kapitbahay na nadedo na, yung dead cell, wala na yon, hindi na yon mare-revive. Mare-revive lamang yon sa pagdating ng Panginoon sa balat ng lupa during the second coming. Yun na yun. Pag namatay na, wala na yon. No? So, mag-extend, neurogenesis would just be development of new dendrites of the living neurons. But the dead neurons, na-minus na yon, natanggal na yon, na-erase na yon sa brain. Therefore, so kung meron ka mga areas na may minus, parang highway, di ba? Nasa highway, pag walang lubak-lubak, 5 minutes, nakarating ka na from point A to point B. Pero pag maraming lubak-lubak, baka from point A to point B, 1 oras. Right? And, syempre, pag may butas-butas, brown out. So, minus na yung alcohol, tanggalin na yung alcohol sa inyong mga lives, lalo na pag nagme-menopause na. Next slide. Ganon din ang caffeine. Yes, caffeine also causes minus in the brain, just like alcohol and just like nicotine or smoking. Yung mga nagve-vape, sabi, nagve-vape naman ako. Ay, nako. One stick of cigarette, the regular stick of cigarette contains 0.5 milligrams of nicotine. But many of those who take vapes, they use 3 milligram cartridges. So, ibig sabihin, ang 3 milligrams cartridge, that's equivalent to 6 sticks of regular cigarette. Na parang nag-6 sticks ka all together. O, di ba? Di mas malaki yung ma-minus sa brain nyo. So, itigil na yung pagsusmoke. Lalo na pag nagme-menopause na, nak-erase na yan sa inyong buhay. And the same with caffeine. And caffeine is not only found in coffee, but also in soft drinks. Yes, truly. Ang soft drinks ay may caffeine, ang energy drinks ay may caffeine, ang iced tea ay may caffeine because iced tea in the Philippines use black tea. Ganon din ang milk tea kasi gumagamit sila ng black tea. Mataas ang caffeine content noon. So yung mga baba tea, mga pearl tea, ayun, i-erase nyo na yun sa mga buhay nyo, lalo't na pag nagme-menopause because it contains caffeine. And there are varieties of tea that contain caffeine. So, ang the best talaga is salabat tea, ginger tea. Mura pa, di ba? kaysa sa bumili kayo ng mga black tea, Darjeeling tea, Earl Grey tea, English breakfast tea, Ceylon tea. Itong mga tea na ito ay nakaka-minus sa brain because they contain caffeine. And dark chocolates, yung tableya, also contains caffeine. So just be careful. Tanggalin na yung caffeine sa buhay ninyo. Kung kayo na-addict na or you can't seem to start your day without your regular dose of coffee, huwag mag-alala. 2 weeks lang ang withdrawal. Tsaga-tsagain lamang ang 2 weeks na withdrawal and then you are caffeine-free. You are free from the bondage of caffeine at hindi na magma-minus ang brain mo, hindi ka na makakaramdam pa ng mga malilesen na ang mga mararamdaman mong negative effects ng menopause. Next slide, please. So the last tip that I will give you is how to keep yourself cool. So dress in layers, lalo na't mga dito sa Pilipinas na napakainit. Matulog sa cool room, so gumamit ng electric fan or aircon or mga thermoregulating pillows. And with regards to vulvovaginal dryness and painful intercourse, keep cool. Gumamit lang ng KY jelly, no? Gumamit lang ng KY gel, and that should solve your problems with your painful intercourse. And I promise you, the effects of menopause is not forever. Hindi forever. Walang forever sa menopause. May pag-asa. Matatapos din ang menopause, and you will feel the freedom and happiness that menopause brings into each woman's life. So, I hope na naka-share naman ako sa inyo ng mga tips and that you would be able to overcome the roller coaster effects of menopause.
Thank you so
Okay
much.
ba yan?
Yes, thank you so very much, Dr. Joy. I really, really enjoyed listening to you. And I know that all our listeners were also enthralled as well as educated, enlightened, whether they are going through menopause or will be going through menopause, or even if they have had menopause, I'm sure they can relate. Now, my first question is, do you know of any group or something similar like what we're doing that would enable men to support their wives, their partners who are going through menopause? Meron na ba tayong ganon? Mga usapang lalaki?
I don't think, I have not heard of a group, but that would be a great idea. And actually, men also go through andropause.
Mhm.
So they also need our support. Habang tayo nagme-menopause, yung ating mga husbands actually are also going through andropause. And we need to really help each other out to get through this stage of sa kanila andropause, sa atin menopause. So that would be a great idea. Sana nga meron ng mag-form ng group, support group for ng mga kalalakihan.
I think perhaps at some point we can invite them to Club M. I would be very, very happy to see men listening in, because you and I, as you know, are very fortunate that our partners, our husbands, are very supportive, very understanding, no? Lalo na doon sa mga challenges that come with, the marital intimacy, the challenges
That's right.
that are posed by menopause, no? So these things really, really have to be talked through. No, you don't just assume that people or your partner, no matter how long you have been married to them or have been going out with them or have been together, you cannot assume that people will just understand, no? Kasama nito yung
Correct.
sinabi mong anhedonia. There are just days when you don't feel like being intimate. Kasi nga, init na init ka na eh. Tapos magpa-intimate
Correct.
ka na. So, parang, I guess, to someone who's going through andropause, right? They might feel rejected, they might feel less attractive in the same way that we also don't feel as attractive as before. So I guess what I'm trying to say is hopefully at some point we can invite you again here in Club M
Sure.
so
It
that
will
we
be my
can,
pleasure.
yes, something like this with the men naman. Para makita
Mm-mm.
nila na whatever it is, it's nothing out of the ordinary, di ba? It's something
Correct.
that people have since the beginning of time, sabi mo nga, have gone
Mm-mm.
through and will continue to go through. Okay?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Here's another question, Dr. Joy. Would you say that um, many women, or perhaps you could give an estimate of women who go to you for consultation, would you say that a big percentage, or what percentage perhaps, kahit na sabihin mong marami, maliit, 10%, 20%, or whatever the percentage is in your estimate, would go to you because of menopause-related symptoms or challenges? What do you think?
So 8 out of 10 of women who go through menopause do come, especially for symptoms of depression and anxiety and
Okay.
insomnia. Oh, and insomnia is part of the depression, and it can also be part of the anxiety. So 8 out of 10 menopausing women do come for consults.
Oh, that's
And
very
yun
good to know.
lang, no, gawin nyo lang yung tips na binigay ko sa inyo. These are also the tips that I give them. But if there is really a need for sleeping pills for a while, then or an antidepressant kung grabe na talaga ang depression, then I would advise that the audience who may be experiencing these things, depression or anxiety through this menopausal time, you do there's no shame in going to a psychiatrist and expressing yourself to them and asking them for help.
Okay, so that's again very, very heartening to know because we Asian women tend to be pa-strong ba? I think the word for that is we have extreme tolerance, we have extreme forbearance, that most of the time we tend to just internalize it and not really verbalize it. So I'm very happy to know that it looks like we're changing, that landscape of consultation is changing, that the stigma of visiting a psychiatrist is slowly diminishing, and that's something that we should truly encourage, especially here in Club M.
Yes, and I'm glad, Marix, that you mentioned the stigma. It would also be good for everyone to know that in the Philippines, since 2018, there's already the Mental Health Act. So in that Mental Health Act, it says that no one is to be discriminated upon for seeking professional help in terms of mental illness. And no one can be removed from work just because they are suffering from a mental illness, any form of mental illness. So, wag nang matakot, kumbaga. It's a changing time. We are more accepting. So, no need to fear. There's a mental health act that can protect you.
Okay, especially if one is going through menopause, no? So it looks like it's a trigger, it's a stimulus for people or for women to start feeling or manifesting the symptoms that you mentioned. So just 5 out of the 9 should definitely ring the alarm bells and
That's
cause
right.
someone to seek professional help. And finally,
Yes.
Dr. Joy, one last question. You gave a very helpful enumeration, and it tells us that nutrition, in fact, plays a very big role in combating or going through menopause, no? So if you were to again estimate, no, sabi mo nga 8 sa 10 mga babae na nag-go through menopause seem to warm up to the idea that they can seek counsel. So when you talk to patients, your patients who are going through menopause and are manifesting anxiety or depression, how many of these women actually respond positively and alter their lifestyle or change their nutritional habits in response to your advice to them? And do they tell you that, ay, oo, talagang nagbago ang buhay namin at nagbago ang aming pakiramdam because of changes in nutrition, including, of course, working out and all that?
As far as I know and as far as my patients tell me, mga good girls sila. Kasi nga, naramdaman na nila yung mga negative effects eh. So in other words, they're desperate to become healthy. So usually, they do
Okay.
respond to a healthy diet. But sometimes, they would say, nako doktora, nadapa ako, na-tempt ako, nag-take ako ng ganito, ganyan. Oo. Well, and I just assure them that's part of being human. It's okay. If you had a cheat day, it's all right. But try to stick as much as possible to the diet that we have talked about, since ikaw rin naman ang mahihirapan, hindi ako. So,
Yeah.
ganoon. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's easier now also because like soya milk is pretty much available in
Oh, yes.
in groceries, and like a long time ago during the time of our parents, wala pa yung soya milk, diba? Pero
I
ngayon,
agree.
yeah, it's very much accessible. And also,
And the different flavors pa.
yes, different flavors pa. And the vegetables and fruits are also very much available now. Lalo na ngayon na nag-COVID, ano? People also plant na in their own
Right.
gardens, which is really a good thing.
Yes. So it could only be good. Everything that you mentioned could only be good. Whether or not you're going through menopause, any day is a good day to start to get into healthy lifestyle, healthy eating,
That's
and
right.
being more mindful with your nutrition. So with that,
Correct.
we would like to thank you on behalf of the entire Club M team. We'd like to thank you
My
so much
pleasure.
for spending time with us and for sharing your years and years of experience and knowledge and very sage advice and your wisdom. So thank you very much, Dr. Joy.
Thank you also for
And,
having
yeah,
me.
so
Stay
we'd like-
safe.
Hi, I'm back, and I'm hoping
We're
that everyone,
back!
picked up or two or more from guides and the lecture that we heard from Dr. Joy. I don't know about you, but the more I listen to it, the more I'm enlightened and the more I'm compelled to make some changes in my life now that I have really come to terms with this part of my journey. How about you, Poy? Kumusta ka naman? Ano naman ang mga thoughts mo dito sa mga narinig natin from Dr. Joy?
Nakakatuwa, Marigs. But before that, may I just read some comments from our Facebook group? Nakakatuwa, nakarelate sila,
Totally.
nag-react.
Mhm.
So, ibig sabihin, may tumama talaga, tumimo sa kanilang isipan yung ating paksa for this episode. The first comment is 6 to 10 years pa. Who. Pertaining to the period of menopause and perimenopause. So again, tama po yun. Ang menopause is actually one day. It only happens on the day na tumigil na talaga ng 1 taon yung regla mo. So, but 5 years before that day and 5 years onwards from that day, you will already be experiencing yung ating mga perimenopausal symptoms. Ang isa pang comment, Marigs, sabi na nakarelate din doon sa sinabi mo na yung nagtanong ka, di ba, kung may support group tayo sa mga lalaki naman on this. Sabi niya, It would be nice to have your partner watch with you so that they can also understand what's going on with you. Projectin natin yan. Ano kayang tatawag natin? Club MM.
That's very interesting. I think that's very interesting kasi I spoke to my husband about it, and I just realized that a lot of women that I know are actually very conservative, no? Nasha-shock sila sa terminology, which I find
Mm.
on the amusing at the same time, parang very interesting. And I think the fact that they're kind of conservative shows us that they're not really into talking about these aspects of life as much as we women are. So um, for example, vaginal dryness and things like that really have to be discussed rather than assumed that you and your partner will just find ways to be able to overcome it, or a lot of things are unspoken, a lot of expectations are there, no? At yun naman pala ay it's something that does not affect only one person, but this is really a general part of this journey. So it would really help if both male and female are open to talking about these things. And of course, it starts with us as women. If we think that we're more, we're the speakers of the house, or tayo yung mas open sa mga ganitong usapan, to try to to discussing it as well. Because, like what you said, there is such a thing as andropause, which I know nothing about, perhaps, but maybe experiencing via my husband, the manifestations in his life are affecting me. But hindi ganito karami yung mga usapan. So, yes, I really would like us to look into that in our future
Yes.
episodes so that we can at least initiate the conversation. Okay?
Yes. It takes two
Yeah.
to tango anyway, di ba?
Time check. We are on the 1 hour mark. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Oo. So,
Sige. So,
napakaganda yung
yeah, so what are
nangyari,
your further
Marigs.
thoughts?
Tuwang-tuwa ako kasi napaka-comprehensive yung salaysay ng ating batikan na panauhin. Siyempre si Dr. Joy. She emphasized na it's not only through, siyempre when we think of emotions, it's always through medications, but in-emphasize na talaga na it's a healthy lifestyle, which is very important para ma-address natin yung mga simptomas na ating dadanasan through this perimenopausal and menopausal stage. Ang dami niyang tips, at sa mga tips na binigay niya, I am very sure that we can journey through menopause, will be a bliss, and we will remain to be productive. Na, yun naman yung ating adhikain, kaya tayo meron itong Club M. In fact, alam mo ba, Miga, na I have learned a new skill. Kahit na 'di ba, medyo na ano na natin yung memorya natin na medyo parang nakakalimutan. Pero dahil dito sa Club M, natuto na ako mag-behind the scenes ng StreamYard. It's my very first time to double with StreamYard and my first time to do a live stream. At nag-e-enjoy ako. At idagdag ko pa na kailangan pala talagang kalmado lang tayo. So the very importance of prayer and trust in the Lord that everything will be okay even at those times or point in your life in which you feel it is hopeless. Marigs?
Yes. Amen. And so with that, I would like to say thank you to our friends who listened. At sa lahat
Shout out
ng
to
mga
them.
nais pa na ikalat itong puting balita. Yes, no? So,
Marigs,
dyan, syempre,
we
ang
reached
ating mga
12 live
support
viewers.
Yeah, so hello to our 12 live viewers. And we really encourage each one, if still a little bit embarrassed to for us to verbalize questions, please let us know, or you may email directly our resource persons. Just let us know because you might want to discuss the matter further with them. And so, again, maraming salamat sa ating special na panauhin na si Dr. Jocelyn Gauzon-Gayares. Magkita-kita tayo muli sa susunod na episode. At doon naman ay isang eksperto ang magbabahagi sa atin kung paano ang pag-eehersisyo. Diba? Tayo nag-exercise, kung ano-ano mga move natin. But if we can learn from an expert how we can do more efficiently and more consistently, then I think it can really help us a lot. So, huwag po natin kalimutan mag-register dito sa ating Facebook group para sa mga kung anumang mga announcements, at kung meron pa tayong mga gusto ngang itanong, tulad ng sinabi ko, pwede rin naman itong ihabol after the show. So, yun na lamang po. Ito po ang co-host ni Dr. Poy, si Mariglola rin, nagsasabi pong mabalos sa Indogabos.
Mabalos sa
Pwede na ba? Pwede na ba?
Indogabos. Miga Marigs, thank you again so much. Mwah! Let's do the move.
Thank you.